Greetings everyone, and welcome to Spyro the Dragon for the PlayStation 1, seriously, PlayStation 1. Being completely honest here. Oh boy. Alright, Spyro is one of the defining video game characters of my childhood, and I'm just so happy to finally be able to sit here and let's play this game. This trilogy, in fact, actually. I'm thinking of let's playing all 3 games in a row, but for those of you who happen to be watching Kingdom Hearts, don't worry, that will still be uploaded alongside this, so don't worry. I've actually finished it, and I've noticed that throughout pretty much the entire LP, my mic is way too loud, so I'm hoping with this game, that won't be too big of an issue, but I'll record the first world of the game and see how things are. But with all that said, let's get started with one of my all-time favorite collectathon platformers. In the world of dragons.
Okay, rolling.
Oh, it's been peaceful here in the 5 worlds, or is it 6? For a dragon's age. We now have 12,000 treasure, or is it 14,000?
What about this Ganasty Gnorc character? Now, I understand he's found a magic spell to turn gems into warriors for his cause.
I'll take that question. Nasty Nork is a simple creature. Simple! He has been contained in a remote world and is no threat to the Dragon Kingdom. No threat! Besides, he is ugly. Ugly? That does it!
How dare you insult my fashion sense!
Looks like I've got some things to do.
Never ever insult an evil tyrant's fashion sense, because things will not end well for you. The adventure begins. And if you're wondering why Spyro hasn't turned into Crystal, well, apparently he's too small. He's so small that the blast just went right over his head, apparently. So, where are all the other young dragons? Apparently Spyro is the only young dragon. Whatever, I'm reading too deep into this. It's like people who read too deep into the opening to Croc. Just don't do it.
Free 10 dragons in the artisan world. Then find the balloonist. He'll transport you to the next world.
What about Nasty Nork? I'm going after him.
Find dragons first. That's all I can tell you.
What a nice man. He thanks us for releasing him. Yeah, we're gonna be hearing that a lot, actually. Alright. Delbin.
Where's Nasty Nork? I'll torch him.
Keep your horns on, Spyro! You have much to learn first. Do you know what the dragonfly following you is doing? His name is Sparks, and he's helping and protecting you. Keep an eye on him and see what I mean.
So, freeing the dragon somehow froze that waterfall behind him, but whatever. No big deal. Alright, so the goal of this game is to obviously rescue all the dragons that have been captured in Crystal, but we have a couple of other goals. We also need to find, let me look at the inventory. Well, it doesn't actually show it here, but we need to find stolen dragon eggs and treasure. So, treasure is laid all around the worlds, and it can range from being pretty easy to find them to frustratingly difficult if you miss one gem in the entire level. So that'll be fun. I guarantee you that's going to happen a few times in this series. Alright. So the way the Spyro games work is that in each game you're given different sets of worlds, and each one has its own hub world, with portals that'll take you to the other subworlds. Very simple, actually. Very simple collectathon platform type stuff. And we also have these extra life statues. Lives are pretty much handed to you pretty freely. Like, this is another game where you should never really get a game over. unless you just really suck at video games in general, because this game really isn't that difficult. But there is one level that that you'll kind of have a lot of trial and error on your first time playing through it. And I'm sure everyone knows what level I'm talking about if they've played this game.
Oh, Flash,
Argus.
do that again.
The artisan's boss is through a portal in the dragon mouth. But you are not yet ready, Spyro. First you must complete one of the other artisan lands.
So the way each world is structured is you of course have your hub world, and then you have 3 subworlds, a fight world, and a boss world. And typically those levels are open right from the get-go. You can pretty much play the game in whatever order you want to, but this world kind of does it differently, and it's the only world that does that. Now if we come out here, we have 2 things we need to note. Here is water. Spyro cannot swim in this game, so stay out of water. And also, Marco the Balloonist here. If you prove your worth by rescuing 10 dragons, then you may use this balloon to fly to a new world. So each world has a specific goal you have to meet. For this world, it's freeing 10 dragons before you can continue on to the next set of worlds. But the thing about Spyro is you pretty much need to get 100% in every world to get the proper ending to the game, because there's really no other way to play this game other than getting 100%, and there's no reason you can't. You know, as soon as you enter a world, typically you can 100% it like that, like right then and there. There's only one level in this game where you technically can't do it, but we'll see that when we see it. Alright. Thomas.
Hey, Spyro, press the jump button twice to glide. and don't be afraid.
Afraid? Of what?
Falling from high mountain peaks? Plummeting into prehistoric glaciers?
Oh, that.
Yeah, that would suck a lot. And if you ever need to know how much stuff is in each world, you just press the select button to open your inventory screen. As you can see here, we have all 4 of the dragons, and we still have 21 treasure to find. And that should all be in this area. Right, and I hope you don't hear people shouting outside my room, because that would be bad. Going up. I'll take that. What you just saw me do there is I just kind of dropped in midair. If you hold down the triangle button when you're gliding, you'll just kind of immediately drop down. In the later Spyro games, you actually have a hover move, which will allow you to reach certain areas that are actually kind of hard to get to by just gliding. Which is one of the best things that they added into Spyro 2, to be honest with you. Alright, so we've pretty much finished this world. So now we have the other worlds we can go tackle. And I'm gonna go ahead and tackle the fight level, but, well, just where the hell is that fight level? Well, let's just jump on these stones and see if the level just miraculously appears. Oh hey, look at that. I found the level. Oh boy. I love this game though. It's funny because I didn't actually play this in my childhood. I only ever played the demo of it. The only Spyro game I owned in my childhood was Spyro 3. And, well, that disc just doesn't work anymore. Thankfully you can buy it off PSN, but there is kind of a downside to buying it off PSN that I will explain when I eventually get to that game. But, yeah, fight levels. Basically, the gimmick here is you fly around and you have to take out a certain amount of targets, in this case being barrels, chests, arches, and planes. It's pretty simple, but there's a couple of levels down the line that are actually quite challenging. And the cool thing that a lot of people don't know about is that if you press L1 or R1, Spyro will actually do a flip in the air. It's not that useful, but it's kind of a cool thing that they added into the game. And it's not in any of the other games, unless you count the game that I'm not going to name, where you can fly around and press a button to do flips. We're just not going to talk about those later Spyro games, if that's okay with everyone. I mean, Skylanders is okay, I haven't played it, but the other later Spyro games, I'm just going to ignore them entirely. And I hope that's okay with everyone. Alright. Except maybe one of them, but whatever, I'll talk about that later. Alright, so that was our first flight level done. Very, very easy, as you can tell. Alright, so you actually get gems based on how many of those things you destroy. If you destroy all in one, there's gems. Well, there's gems that you can only get if you destroy them all in one go. I'm trying not to make this as confusing as I can. Yes. Not doing a very good job. Not doing a very good job here. I was doing okay at the start of the video, and now it's starting to suck. Good job, Tyler. You are a professional Let's Player forever and ever. Alright. So once you've already collected an enemy's gem, they'll drop this weird crystal ball thing, and when you pick it up, you'll notice that dragon head at the top right will get one little crystal ball on top of it. So if you fill up a whole circle with crystal balls, you'll get another extra life. Or sometimes enemies will just flat out drop an extra life for no reason. But, you know, whatever. It's helpful. It can be helpful if you suck at this game. But, whatever. Time to enter our first subworld of the game. It's basically just a slightly brighter version of the Artisan homeworld with more hills. There's not much in the way of level variety in the first Spyro game. Now, I think it has a lot more variety than some people give it credit for, but generally the theme of the homeworld is what all the subworlds have, except the fight worlds for some reason. Alright. Lindar.
When you free a dragon or step on one of their platforms, you're saving your progress. That could be useful if you run into trouble. Not that you ever run into trouble, Spyro.
Now, when he says saving progress, he just means checkpointing. It doesn't actually auto-save your game. You have to kind of stand on it for a second, and then manually select save game to save your game. And that's pretty much it. So don't let that confuse you. This game does not have... Well, the later games have an autosave function, but when you're checkpointed, it doesn't actually save your game's progress, so remember that. Don't just step on one of those stones and decide, you know what, I'm gonna stop playing today, and turn the game off, because you can lose a lot of data for that.
After you freed all the dragons, pass through this fancy vortex thingamajigger. It'll take you back to the artisan home. But first, let me tell you a story.
No thanks. See ya.
I love that. That's one of the running gags in this game. I think the entire series, actually. Just old people rambling on about nothing, about things that Spyro just doesn't care about. Alright, so here's a little secret area that you may or may not know of, the little beach area behind the exit. The funny thing about a lot of levels in this game is that when you find the exit, that doesn't mean your level is over, because there's a lot of stuff that you might still have to go get. So a lot of the time, I just avoid using exits altogether, but in order to go fight the boss for this set of worlds, you actually have to touch the exit in one of the worlds. So just remember that. And then when we get to the final world, no matter what we do, we always have to touch the exit. because otherwise the next level just won't open. But anyways, you saw down there we got a key, so now we have to find the chest that this key belongs to. Oh hey, look, there it is. Alright, and it does this kind of long animation of Spyro putting the key in there. But, you know. Gavin.
Watch the dragonfly, Spyro. His color indicates his power. When he eats butterflies, he stays strong. Like me.
Sure.
Yeah, whatever you say, bro. Alright, so Sparks the Dragonfly, well basically Dragonfly, you know. He looks like a French fryer, I don't know. Dragonfly will change color each time you get hit. He'll change from yellow to blue to green, and then if he gets hit after he's green, he's gone. And if Spyro gets hit when Sparks is just flat out gone, then, well, he's dead. So the way you can restore Sparks is by defeating these small animals these small defenseless animals that will kind of just run away from you a lot of the time. And just burn them, because they're not important. And they'll turn into butterflies, apparently, and Sparks will eat those butterflies and restore your health. And funny little thing, actually, the advertisement campaigns for this game were basically a bunch of sheep protesting the game's release because Spyro was burning all of their flocks. And I don't know too much about the later Skylander games, but I know they make a really funny joke about that in Skylanders, how basically sheep are the root of all evil in the kingdom or whatever. And I thought that was funny. I need to get around to playing those games eventually, but you know, buying those toys costs money, and I don't have money right now. So, you know. Because a lot of people say those games are just big cash grabs, and to an extent they are. I mean, it's pretty obvious that they're just making physical DLC for that young kids are going to be suckered into buying. But then again, look at some of the stupid stuff that we bought when we were kids. Remember trading card games? And I know those still go on now. It's basically the same thing, just with toys. Gildas.
Spyro, my friend, how about a hint on gliding?
You bet.
For the longest glide, press the X button at the top of a jump, and try pressing the triangle button to drop down in mid-flight.
Really basic stuff there. Alright, so we have an entire hill area surrounding this level with a lot of gems to find. How many gems have I gotten, actually? Looks like there's about like 25 up here, so it's not that much, but it's very easy to miss gems up here. And I actually don't want to go up here yet. Now you might see over there on the horizon a little blue thing just sticking up over that hill. And as we get a little closer, that blue thing is moving. It's taunting us. You can actually hear it taunting us. See, that son of a bitch right there got an egg, and we need to go get that egg, so we need to chase him down. And, well, it's just that easy. Just catch up to him and flame him, and you get your dragon egg. There are 12 dragon eggs in the game, and by the halfway point in the game, you should already have all of them, so... yeah. So now that we've found that dragon egg, the last thing we have to do is find all the remaining gems here. Look at this fantastic 3D technology running up hills and stuff. It was impressive back then, come on. I mean, this may not even look as impressive as some other 3D games that were released in the time, particularly on the N64, but I still think it looks pretty good. It has, in some ways, aged pretty badly, as you'll see, especially in the later games, how polygonal and just kind of poorly textured some things can look. But that's not what's important about this game's art style. What's important is that it looks bright and colorful and happy. And it's a cartoony game, so you can't knock its graphics that much. You know, this definitely looks better than something that's trying to look realistic on the PS1. And as a result, just ends up looking way more dated. But anyway, here's the last two gems. So, for the first, and you're not going to see this for quite a while, but right now, we have to actually touch the return home teleporter thingy.